Hi, this session is completing some practice questions on perimeter, and just make sure you write down the questions into your knowledge book. You can print and paste the questions if that is easier for you. Try answering the questions yourself first, using the skills we have covered in the previous slides, and please show working out for each question where necessary. I'm sorry about my speaker, it's starting to play up, so you might hear some background sound, but as long as you can hear my voice. Now for question 1, you are asked to use a ruler to measure a rectangle and for B to measure a square, and we have been given these measurements. Now it's a bit hard for me to draw without pen and paper, so I have put in the measurements of this rectangle. So let's focus on the rectangle first, and I've got an online ruler. So when it comes to a rectangle, if we looked at, just to go back to this slide here, properties of squares and rectangles, a rectangle is similar to a square, but it has only opposite sides that are equal. So it has to have a longer side, or two longer sides, and then two shorter sides, and these longer sides are opposite each other, and they are also equal. A rectangle has a length and a width, and the length is usually longer as well. So when I go to draw this rectangle, it says a length of 6 centimeters, and I can see 6 is longer than 2. So you should have got on your ruler, look at where we've got centimeters, and make sure you start from 0. So this hasn't got 0 here, but it's right at the end. And make sure when you draw your rectangle, you line it up properly. So this length, imagine I drew a line, there's the length of my rectangle. And this length here is also 6 centimeters, opposite sides are equal. And your width, once again, you start from 0, and it should be 2 centimeters on both sides. Okay, so this is something you would have done before, so we're just revising and making sure we know how to use a ruler and look at our units. So we can see we've got centimeter units, 1, 2, 3, and with question B, it says draw a square with side lengths of 40 millimeters. Now, a millimeter is smaller than a centimeter, and 1 millimeter is those tiny little gaps that we see on our ruler. So 40 millimeters, we can count 40 of those individual lines. It will actually take us to 4 centimeters. Okay, so your length should have been 4 centimeters, or counted, each of those little lines there would have been 40. We will learn how to convert units later. Actually, sorry, we have already learned how to convert units. So we can turn 40 millimeters into 4 centimeters. And a square, the properties of a square, a square has equal sides, so each side should equal 4 centimeters or 40 millimeters. Okay? Okay, for our next question, it asks us to find the perimeter of these shapes. Now, it also tells us that all the side lengths are given, and we can see that. And when it comes to measuring perimeter, you should have read through what perimeter is, and we are going to use the symbol P for perimeter in our working out. All units must be the same when adding, so we might have to convert units at some point. Write the units in your final answer. Okay, so we have to see like centimeters, meters, and so on. And when a shape has sides with the same length, we see dashes and arrows, which we'll explain in the questions that we do. So make sure you've read through this first. Okay, so let's do these questions. Now, working out is very important, having clear, structured working out. So I'm going to use my P for perimeter. Okay, that's my symbol for perimeter. Now, perimeter is equal to, we know perimeter, we have to add up all the sides. So, doesn't matter which one you start with first. I can see they're all millimeters, so the units are all the same. So let's just go 40 plus 29 plus 20. I add all those up, and that will give me my perimeter. I don't have to write millimeters in here. I can write it at the end. That's fine. Now to add this up, try not to use a calculator. I forgot to mention that before. We don't want to use a calculator all the time. You should be able to do this without it. And your test, for example, your cat, you may not be able to use a calculator anyway. So perimeter is equal to add all of these up, I can use an algorithm. So 40 plus 29 plus 20. I'll just write plus once. So 0 plus 9 plus 0 is my 9. 4 plus 2 is 6 plus another 2 is 8. So 89. So perimeter is equal to 89 millimeters. That's our unit. Okay. So if you wanted to show this working out in a different area, that's fine as well. Okay, for B, we can see there are some dashes or some lines on our shape, and that's just telling us that they are equal sides. So 2 dashes here and 2 dashes there means this length and that length are equal. So 5 and 5 are the same for that reason. Here, 1 dash and another dash, which means this line here and that line there are the same length. So 3 centimeters is the same as 3. Okay, all our units are in centimeters. So perimeter, once again, we add up all the sides. 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5. So my perimeter is equal to, I can pretty much add all of these up together. If I do it step by step, 3 plus 3 is just 6, plus my 5 plus my 5. P is 6 plus 5 is 11, and 11 plus 5 gives me 16. And don't forget to write centimeters, that's our unit. Okay. Our next question asks us to once again find the perimeter of these shapes, but by recognizing equal sides. So you can see that there are some sides that don't have numbers, don't have the actual length of the side, but using our knowledge of what sides are equal, depending on how many dashes we see or arrows, we can work out what the other side length is. So have a go first. Okay, for our first one, I can see my shape is a triangle, and that this length here is the same as that length there. So this side is 24 millimeters, which means this side is also 24 millimeters. And I'll just write it in there. A triangle with 2 equal sides is an isosceles triangle, and we'll learn more about triangles and shapes later on. Alright, so now that I know what all of my sides are, to find the perimeter, P is equal to, I just add up all the sides. So I have 40 plus 24 plus 24. Okay, so we can add these up using an algorithm, or if you just want to double 24, it's up to you. So I'll just do it this way. So my perimeter is equal to, I'll do my algorithm over here, so 40 plus 24 and 24. So if you did it this way, that's fine. Or if you want to write it here, you can as well. So 4 plus 4 is 8, and then 4 plus 2 is 6, plus another 2 is 8. So my perimeter is 88, and now I have to write my units, which are all in millimeters. So 88 millimeters. Okay, for our next shape, do you know what this shape is? A shape with 6 sides is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a shape with 6 sides is a hexagon. Now my hexagon looks a bit funny, sorry, did my best. So with this one, we can see that it's telling us this side length here is 15 millimeters, and because they've all got these little dashes there, it's telling us all the sides are equal. Okay, so that means every single side is 15 millimeters as well. Okay, all 15 millimeters. So perimeter, once again, is equal to, yes, I can add up all the sides. I can do this 15 plus 15 plus 15 6 times. Or a faster way is, well, if I know there are 6 sides, I can just go, okay, my perimeter is equal to 6 times 15, or 15 times 6. I'm going to use multiplication because I think it'll be quicker. If you decided to add them all up, that's fine as well. 6 times 15, I can use an algorithm to help me. So let's practice this as well. So 6 times 5 is 30, put the 0 down, and we add the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Okay, so my perimeter is 90, and don't forget the unit is in millimeters. Okay, for 3C, this shape here is called a parallelogram, and the reason why there are arrows, the arrows, yes, they're telling us whether it's the same side length, So for example, 17 millimeters is here, one arrow, and the other arrow, which means it's also 17 millimeters. And because there's two arrows here and two up there, it is telling us that it's also 50 millimeters. But the other thing is the arrows are telling us they are also heading in the same direction. And a parallelogram has parallel sides. So this side here, and that side there, parallel lines mean these two lines will never meet. They can go on forever and ever. So on forever and ever, and they'll never meet. Okay? That's if you're just wondering why there's arrows instead of dashes. Alright, so now that I know that these sides are equal, I have all my side lengths. All I have to do is perimeter is equal to adding up all the sides. So 50 plus 50 plus 17 plus 17. Okay? I could have also done this. Perimeter is equal to, because I can see that there's two sides that are equal, I could have said, okay, well, I can go 2 times 50, because there's two 50s, plus 2 times 17. Okay, I'm just showing you different ways you can work this out. That's a 0 there. Okay, so the point is, work it out so you get the correct result, which means you're adding up all the sides. If I did it this way, 50 plus 50, I know is 100, plus 17 plus 17. 100 plus 17, that gives me 117. And 117 plus 117, just in case we're not too sure, let's quickly do an algorithm. 7 plus 7 is 14, put the 4 down and add the 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, and add the 1 there. So the perimeter is equal to 134. What are our units? It's millimeters. Okay, for question 4, it's asking us to find the perimeter, but we have to convert units first. So we can see that, for example, in 4a, we've got millimeters here, and then centimeters and centimeters as well. So when we're calculating the perimeter, we have to make sure all the sides are the same unit before adding them up. Now with A, it says calculate the perimeter in millimeters. So it's specifically asking us to use millimeters. So we have to use that. Okay, so for 4A, we're asked to have our final answer using in millimeters. So I have to change my centimeters to millimeters. Now please make sure you know how to draw your conversion chart. Yes, you might be able to do this mentally, but being able to draw a conversion chart is also an important skill. So let's just draw one here. So we always start with kilometers, our biggest unit, then meters, then centimeters, and then millimeters. And then our arrows go this way that are on top. So just like that. And then down here they go the other way. The other thing is, don't forget to put your operations. So if we start with a bigger unit, we get bigger, which is why we times. So times by 1,000, then times by 100, and then times by 10. Okay? And over here, we do the opposite. So instead of multiplying by 10, divide by 10, divide by 100, and then divide by 1,000. So it's pretty easy to draw your own conversion chart, and it can help us to make sure we're converting properly. So to change 2 centimeters into millimeters, remember I have a bigger unit turning into a smaller, so I should get a bigger number. 2 should become bigger. So find centimeters, there I am, and so I'm here heading to millimeters, so I have to times by 10. Okay, so multiply by 10, so 2 times 10 gives me my 20 millimeters. Alright, so this 2 here, if it helps, you can cross it off and just write 20 millimeters. Same as 2 centimeters, but I've changed my unit. So now I can add my perimeter. So perimeter is to add up all the sides. So 78 plus 39 plus 27 plus the 20 that I've changed. If it helps, we can just use an algorithm. So I'll just squeeze it down here. So 78 plus 39, make sure your place value is in order, plus 27 plus 20. So all the ones that are supposed to be my ones column are there, and then my tens column. All right, and then I've got 8 plus 9 plus 7. That leaves me with 24. Okay, and add the 2, so 4, and then carry the 2. And then, well, if I go 7 plus 3 first is 10, and then 10 plus 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. Whoops. So I'm left with 164. So my perimeter is equal to 164. Don't forget to write our units, millimeters. Okay, for 4B, it says calculate the perimeter, and you can choose your own unit. All right, so in this case, we can either change millimeters to centimeters or centimeters to millimeters. Now, I've tried my best to draw the shape. Sorry, excuse that line there, it won't disappear. Okay, so before we start, let's have a look and see what we're dealing with. Straight away, I can see there are 3 equal sides because of these dashes, so I'm going to fill in what they are. If that one's 2.5 centimeters, then these other 2 sides are also 2.5 centimeters. Now, all the side lengths I can now see, and now I have to change my unit so that they are either all millimeters or all centimeters. Now, it's up to you what you choose to do. I might just change my centimeters into millimeters because all of these are the same length, all 2.5. So I just have to do one calculation here and then change my 3.5. And once again, if I start with a bigger unit and I go to a smaller one, my number gets bigger. So it helps me to avoid decimals as well, especially if you don't like decimals, we can avoid them. So I'm going to change 2.5 centimeters into millimeters. Now, like before, if we start at centimeters and we go to millimeters, we just times by 10. So 2.5 times 10, we know we've got 1 0, we're multiplying, we move to the right. So my number will be 25 millimeters. Too easy. And the other one I need to do is change 3.5 centimeters to how many millimeters? Once again, we are multiplying by 10. So move it one spot and I get my 35 millimeters. And we have practiced this before. Okay, so I'm going to cross off my 3.5 and just write 35 millimeters here, 25 millimeters here, 25 there, and 25 there. All my sides are now in millimeters. Now I can add up my perimeter. I'll just do it over here and make more space. So P is equal to, let's add up all our sides. So I've got 32 plus 20. And if it helps, you can even get a different color. Cross off the sides once you've added them on here, if you want to. Plus 25. Plus 25 again. I'll just squeeze it under here because I haven't got room. Plus 25. Plus 35. So I'm adding up all my sides. Okay, and to add this up, we can use an algorithm. Or if you want to add it up mentally, you can as well. But remember, no calculators. Alright, so I'll add my 5 first. 5, 10, 15, 20. Plus a 2 is 22. Okay, and I've got to add the 2 as well. So now I'll add up all my 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then 10 plus 3 is 13, plus the other 3 is 16. Okay, so my perimeter is equal to 162, and we had changed our units to millimeters. So make sure you write the correct units. For our next question, question 5, it says work out a missing side length using addition. Okay, so we're going to be using, I guess, addition to help us work out a side length. And the main aim of this question is calculate the perimeter of the following shape. So we have to calculate the perimeter, but in order to calculate the perimeter, I need to know what this length is and this length is, or all my side lengths. Okay, so our first step is let's check our units. They are all in centimeters. Now, are there any sides that we can work out without doing any calculations? Yes, I can see there's 2 dashes here and 2 there, which means this length here is also 2 centimeters. Okay, so the side I need to find is this one here and this side here as well. Okay, Now to do this, you sort of have to, I guess, visualize what's happening. And I'll also point out, if I did a dotted line all the way here and along there, we can see this is sort of part of a rectangle. Okay, it's like a rectangle, a part of the rectangle is being cut out, but keep that in mind as well. We've got sort of a rectangle, but a part of it's being cut out. Now this length from here to here, I'm going to draw it on this length down here. So from here to here, that's 1 centimeter. From here to here, it's also 1 centimeter. Okay. Now, can I work out? So that's 1 centimeter just by seeing from here to here 1, from there to there 1. Now, what do you reckon this length is from here? Well, if I stopped here and all the way along here, it's telling me, whoop, it's 4 centimeters. Well, that means from here to here, it must also be 4 centimeters. Okay, which means I can use addition. I can add these two lengths to give me the whole line, which means the whole line must be 5 centimeters. Okay, so that's all we had. So from this length to that length, it was 1, and that length to that length, we can see it's 4 centimeters. Okay, and I can even draw it up here as well. So from here to here, it's 1. From there to there, it's 4. The whole thing is 5 centimeters. And to work out this side length here, I'm doing the same thing. So now I'll change my color. So if I've got this length here, from there to there, it's 2 centimeters. Okay, so it means from here to here, this must also be 2 centimeters. And what would this length from here to here be? Well, if it's from here to here, it's also 2 centimeters. That means it must be 2 centimeters here. Okay, I can see that line. If I drew it all the way across, I'll be at the same spot. So it has to be 2 centimeters. Sorry, it's a bit hard to draw with this, but just see, you can see from there to there, it's 2 centimeters. From here to here, it's also 2 centimeters. Now 2 plus 2 is, the whole thing is 4. So I add these two lengths to get the whole length, which is 4. And I have found all of my side lengths. So perimeter will be equal to, so I'm adding up my 1 plus, so 1 plus that 2 plus that 4 plus that 2 plus the 5 I worked out is that whole length there. So I just squeeze it here, plus this 4 as well. And they are all my side lengths. So add all of these up. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9, 9 plus 5 is 14, and 14 plus 4 is 18. And our units are all in centimeters. So the perimeter for this L shape is 18 centimeters. Okay, for this question, we are working out a missing side length. So we have that L shape again, but it says using subtraction. All right, so we need to find the perimeter of the following shape, and we've got to find these unknown side lengths. We can see how this one is different to the previous one. The previous one, if we go back, I didn't have the length of my longer side, but over here, I have the length of my longer side. So that's why maybe instead of adding, we might have to subtract to figure out the shorter sides. Okay, and also please make sure you're drawing these questions as well, or if you want to print them, you can, but I want you to have the diagram in your books. All right, so we got to work out this side length here, and then we have to work out, I'll change the color for the other one, this side length here. Then I can add the perimeter. So let's work out this side length here, the one that I've highlighted green. So to do this, you have to try and visualize what's happening. If I've got the whole length here, which is 8 centimeters, and this side length goes from here to there, so I can do a dotted line, you can see it begins here and it ends just there. Hang on a sec. All right, so I can see part of this length is the same. It is the same over here. Okay, so it goes from that point to that point, but I don't want this part here. This whole thing is 8 centimeters. If I can get rid of this part and subtract it somehow, it will leave me with this length over here. So what is the length from here to here? Well, I can see that from here to here, it is 3 centimeters as well. So I want just this length here. If I can minus 3 centimeters, then I'll be left with the length that I want. That goes from there to there. So if the whole thing is 8 centimeters, and I subtract that 3 centimeters, I'll be left with, whoop, didn't work. I'll be left with that part there. So all I have to do is for this length here, just go, the whole thing was 8 centimeters minus that 3 centimeters. 8 minus 3 leaves me with 5 centimeters. So this length from here to here is 5 centimeters. Okay, so once again, from that point to that point is what I want. So I subtracted that 3 to leave me with that line there. Now, the other length, I'll use that pink pen, goes from here to here. And I need to find what is that length. I'll do the exact same thing. From here to here, I can draw that line the same length down there. From there to there. So I can see it's the exact same length. This whole line here is 6 centimeters. Now, I don't want the whole line. I just want from that part to that part. If I can subtract this bit here, okay, so I'll do it slowly. There we go. If I can get rid of that line, I'll be left with the line that I want, the length that I want. Well, I know from here to here, it is 4 centimeters. So if I go 6 the whole line, take away the 4 centimeters, I will be left with that length here. So what is 6 centimeters take away 4 centimeters? Well, 6 take away 4 is just 2. And that is the length of this bit here, 2 centimeters. That's what I'm left with. So 6, take away that part, which is 4, leaves me with 2. Now the perimeter is to add up all the sides. So 2, I'll cross them off as I go, or circle them. So I've got 2 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 6 plus 8. That one there. Okay? And that will leave me with my perimeter. So these ones that I just wrote, like the 3, you can just ignore that. Okay, so 2 plus 5 is 10. 10 plus 4 is 14. 14 plus 3 is 17. 17 plus 6 is 26. And then 26 plus 8. So I've got 26 now plus 8. So my perimeter is equal to 34. And don't forget to write our units, 34 centimeters. So hopefully that made a bit of sense, how to work out these unknown side lengths. Okay, for question 7, it tells us we are using a rectangle to find the perimeter when only 2 sides are known. So have a look at this L shape. So it's an L shape like the other ones, but we can see that we have less information. I've only got 11 millimeters here and 7, whereas the other ones, if I have a look, I had 1, 2, 3, 4 measurements given, and over here I had 3 measurements. So now with this one, I can't just use addition and subtraction to work out the other side lengths. I don't have enough information. So what I could do is use the knowledge that this perimeter of the L shape is actually the same as a rectangle. So I'll show you this diagram just to make it a bit easier. So this red line, if I drew it out here, and that blue line, I drew it out there, we can see it still forms a rectangle. So that means this length from here to here joins up to make the rectangle, and the same with that red dotted line. So all I need to do is add up all the sides like I would with a rectangle. So 11 plus 11 plus 7 plus 7. Okay, another way of explaining it, if that didn't make sense, is imagine I can grab this line and pull it all the way down here. It'll join up over here. So imagine I pulled it all the way and it ended up there. And then I did the same for the other line, other side. Imagine I pulled that all the way across and it ended up fitting just over there. And there's our rectangle. Okay, so that's what's actually happened. So we have 11 millimeters here all the way along, and 7 millimeters there all the way along. That's all I need to calculate the perimeter. Okay, I don't need to know the exact length of that pink line or the exact length of that green line. All I need to know is the whole line, the whole length of each side. So perimeter is equal to 11 plus 11 plus 7 plus 7. It's a rectangle, so we can see two equal sides. So P is equal to 11 plus 11 is 22 plus 7 plus 7. 22 plus 7 is 29. And 29 plus 7 leaves me with 36. And don't forget to write our units, which is in millimeters. Okay, question 8 says we are using our knowledge of shapes to find the perimeter. So A says a square has a side length of 2.1 centimeters, find its perimeter. And B, we're using a rectangle. So we know the properties of a square. So just in case you have forgotten, the properties of a square says all side lengths are equal. So a square, every single side is the same length. So remember, we are finding the perimeter. And whenever you have questions like this, always draw the shape or draw a diagram. Alright, so hopefully you use a ruler to make it a bit neater and straighter. Alright, so every side length is equal. So each side length, I've got 2.1. So perimeter is equal to, and each one is 2.1, if that helps. And don't forget to write, we're doing centimeters, I believe. So centimeters. Now, two ways of doing it. Because a square has 4 equal sides, I can just say 4 times the length, which is 2.1. Or we can do it this way, add up all the sides individually. If you don't know how to multiply decimals yet, that's fine. We can go 2.1 plus 2.1 plus 2.1 plus 2.1 4 times. Okay, so you can do it mentally, or you can even use the algorithm. So I'll quickly do that. So make sure my decimal is in the correct spot. We are doing this without a calculator, just remember that point. So decimals are lined up, the tenths are lined up, and my ones are lined up. So add my decimal first. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, that's just 4. And then 2, 4, 6, 8. So I get 8.4. So perimeter is equal to 8.4 centimeters. With the other one, we have a rectangle that has a length of 4 meters and a width of 3 meters. So draw that. Okay, so when drawing a rectangle, the length is usually the longer side. Okay, so we have a length of 4 meters and a width of 3 meters. Okay, if you want to write the 4 over here as well and the 3, that's fine. So perimeter is, once again, adding up all the sides. So 4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 3. If you had 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, that's correct as well. When we're adding, order doesn't matter. Okay, so 4 plus 4 is 8. And then 3 plus 3 is just 6. So 8 plus 6 is 14. And my units are meters. So you should have had 14 meters. And the last question for this session, question 9, we are finding an unknown side length when given the perimeter. Okay, so the following triangle has a perimeter of 12. So we can see P equals 12. P stands for perimeter. Using the information provided, find the unknown side length X. So we've used X as the unknown side length. We could have used A or B or any letter or symbol. It's just saying, I want to know what X is. X is a number. What is it? Okay, so once again, we are not finding the perimeter. We already know the perimeter. It tells us P equals 12 meters. I want to find X. What is X? What is that unknown side length? And to do that, you can, there's a couple of ways you can do this, but the basic way is just realizing that, okay, if I've got 3 and 4, 3 plus 4 gives me 7, okay? And if the whole thing is 12, how can I work out what this bit is, this part is? Well, all I got to do is go, okay, well, if I know the whole thing is 12 meters, if I just go 12, take away that 7, it will leave me with this length here. So what is 12 take away 7? 12 take away 7 is 5. So that means X is equal to 5 meters. Okay? And let's just check. If X was 5 meters, 5 plus 3 plus 4 has to give me 12. Well, let's check. 5 plus 4 is 9, and 9 plus 3, yes, it gives me my 12. So to work out an unknown side length, you just had to realize, okay, if I add these two sides together, whatever's left, the difference between them, is the leftover is the length of the unknown side length, which happened to be 5. Thank you.